The door chimed when I walked in. Brianna saw me first. Her expression shifted fast. My mother's champagne glass tilted in her hand. My father stood at the center of the room. He was smiling. He was raising a toast to the mysterious stranger who had saved their studio. That stranger was me. I had not said a word yet. I did not need to. Marcus stepped up beside me and cleared his throat. The room went completely still. My family told people I was sleeping on couches. They told their church group I was unstable. They posted an old photo of me at my worst and called it proof. They did all of this while I was quietly building something they could not even imagine. If you have ever worked in silence while someone you loved rewrote your story for their own comfort, you already know how this feels. Subscribe. This story ends somewhere they never saw coming. I do not want you to miss it. It was the last Thursday of November. East Nashville. My parents' Victorian on Shelby Avenue. The maple trees outside were stripped completely bare. The air smelled like wood smoke and cold pavement. Inside, the house smelled like sweet potato casserole and something older, something that had been sitting in the walls for years. My father Gerald sat at the head of the table. He always sat at the head of the table. It was the kind of habit that had nothing to do with seating and everything to do with identity. My mother, Donna, kept her eyes on her plate. My sister Brianna sat across from me with a wine glass. She was already halfway through it. The plates were full, the conversation was polite. Then Gerald looked directly at me. "Celeste," he said, "at some point you have to face reality. If you cannot get it together, there are shelters in this city that help people in your situation." My mother did not look up. Brianna covered her mouth with her napkin. Her shoulders were shaking. She was laughing. I placed my fork down. I picked up my coat from the back of my chair. I walked to the front door and stepped outside into the cold. I did not say a single word. There is a cracked photograph tucked into the sun visor of my truck. It has been there for years. It is a picture of me at 9 years old, squinting into the sun. I have never explained it to anyone. I sat in the driver's seat for a moment and looked at it. Then I drove home. My condo is on the 32nd floor in downtown Nashville. The Cumberland River runs below it. At night, the water catches the city lights and holds them. I stood at the window that evening with a mug of coffee. My jaw stayed tight the entire drive home. By the time I got upstairs, it had loosened slightly, not much. My company is called Beaumont Audio Group. We design and lease custom sound infrastructure for major touring artists, arenas, and broadcast studios. 3 of the top 5 music venues in the country run on systems I built from scratch. While Gerald was telling his brother across that dinner table that I was a disappointment, my systems were processing live audio for a sold-out arena show in Atlanta. My income that year was $30 million, after bonuses and equity distributions. $30 million. What nobody in that room knew was that the daughter they had written off was one of the highest-earning independent audio entrepreneurs in the entire Southeast. 3 days after Thanksgiving, my cousin Renee texted me, "Your mom is at her prayer circle. She's telling everyone you're having a breakdown. Said you've been couch surfing. Celeste, I'm so sorry." I typed back, "Thank you for telling me. Don't worry about it." I sat with it for almost an hour. Part of me wondered if I was reading too much into things. Maybe the distance between my world and theirs had just grown too wide. Maybe they genuinely did not understand what I had built. I almost called my mother. Then Renee sent a screenshot. It was from my mother Donna's private Facebook group. There was a photo attached. It was me at 22. Finals week at audio school. I looked completely hollowed out. Wrinkled shirt, dark circles. I barely recognized myself. The caption read, "Please lift our family in prayer. Our eldest daughter Celeste is going through a very dark season. She is struggling with instability and we fear for her housing situation. We love her, but tough love is sometimes all a parent can offer."
They had found the worst photo of me from the worst week of my life. They had handed it to strangers as documentation. I set my phone down on the kitchen counter. I looked at the custom acoustic panels on my walls. I looked at the radiant heat flooring. I thought about the deed in my desk drawer. I was not unstable. I was unbothered. There is a significant difference between those two things. Then the email arrived. The subject line read, "Urgent Notice of Default, Commercial Lease Agreement, Beaumont Larkin Studio Collective." I had never heard of the Beaumont Larkin Studio Collective. I opened the PDF. Commercial Lease, Gulch District, signed 4 years ago. I scrolled to the guarantor line. Celeste Ann Beaumont, in blue ink. I stared at it. The loop of the C, the sharp tail of the B, it was close, very close. But the pen pressure was wrong. The slant was off. Someone had practiced it. I need to pause here. Has anyone ever treated your work like it was invisible? Like what you built did not count because it did not look the way they expected? Tell me in the comments. 4 years ago, Gerald's credit was stretched thin from a bad investment. Brianna wanted to open a boutique studio in the Gulch, part recording space, part gallery, the kind of place that gets written up in local magazines. They needed a guarantor with clean credit and a strong financial profile. They used me. Without asking, without a single conversation, they signed my name to a contract worth $583,000 and never said a word. I called Marcus. He is my business attorney. He has handled my contracts and corporate structure for 6 years. He does not panic, and he does not waste words. "Marcus," I said, "forgery, identity theft, commercial lease default. My family is behind it." He went quiet for 4 seconds. "Send me everything," he said. An hour later, he called back. "The landlord is a property investment group out of Atlanta. They want to exit this asset. CBM Holdings makes them a cash offer, not just for the debt, for the whole building." I stood at the window. The river was dark and completely still. If I filed a lawsuit, I was the wounded party in a courtroom for years. If I bought the building, I was the owner. "Make the offer," I said. "Cash. Close it in 48 hours. 49 hours later, Marcus texted 2 words. "It's done." They had no idea what was coming. Brianna threw a party. She called it a celebration of resilience. She told everyone an angel investor had swept in and saved the studio. She posted about it with a grateful heart caption and a photo of her holding champagne. I read the posts from the parking lot. Through the front windows, I could see Gerald with his flute raised to the ceiling. Donna was hugging Brianna's friends. They all looked like people who had narrowly escaped something. I got out of my truck. The door chimed when I walked in. Brianna saw me first. Her expression shifted fast, like a light going behind a cloud. "Celeste, what are you doing here?" "I heard there was a party. I wanted to see the space." Gerald walked toward me. "We have an investor arriving tonight. This is a private event. You need to go." "An investor?" I said. "Is that what you're calling CBM Holdings?" He went still. "How do you know that name?" "Public filings," I said. "I follow commercial real estate in this district." Then the door opened behind me. Marcus walked in. Dark coat, leather portfolio. He looked exactly like what he was. Gerald's face changed completely. He extended his hand and smiled wide. "You must be the representative from CBM. Welcome. Can I get you something to drink?" Marcus looked at the outstretched hand for a moment too long. He glanced at me. He glanced back at Gerald. He did not take it. He walked past my father and came to stand beside me. By reflex, he started to extend his hand toward Brianna. He caught himself halfway. He lowered his arm quietly. Brianna stared at the space where his hand had been. Marcus cleared his throat softly. Nobody spoke. 4 full seconds passed. It felt like much longer. Then he spoke. "My name is Marcus Webb. I am legal counsel for CBM Holdings. I am not the owner of the company." He turned slightly toward me. "The owner is already in the room. I would like to introduce you to the sole proprietor of CBM Holdings and the new owner of this building, Celeste Beaumont." The room did not react. It went completely quiet. Donna's champagne glass tilted in her hand. Gerald blinked twice. Brianna's face went through 4 different expressions in about 2 seconds. "That is not possible," Brianna said. Her voice was soft. "CBM," I said. "Celeste Beaumont Music. I bought the debt. As of 4 p.m. yesterday, I hold the title to this building." "She has nothing," Gerald said. His voice had gone thin. "She lives in a rented condo. She is unstable." "She is one of the highest-earning independent audio entrepreneurs in the Southeast, and she is your landlord as of yesterday afternoon." Marcus handed Gerald a document. "This is a formal notice of rent adjustment. Market rate for this district is $18,000 per month. Your previous rate of $6,000 reflected a personal guarantor arrangement. That guarantor signature has been flagged as fraudulent. The favorable terms are void. You also carry $48,000 in arrears, plus legal fees. Total to cure the default is $65,000. You have 7 days." Brianna's voice cracked. "We do not have $65,000. "Then you have the second option," I said. "Vacate the premises immediately." Gerald looked at me the way people look at something they no longer recognize.
"You would do this to your own family?" "I am doing this to a tenant who has not paid rent in 4 months," I said, "whose lease was secured through fraud. The biology is not relevant to the contract. You told me that business is business." I walked to the door. I did not turn around. 7 days later, the studio was empty. I walked through it alone on a gray December morning. Bare walls, extension cords on the floor, a few frames left leaning against the baseboards. Marcus met me out front with the keys. "What do you want to do with it?" he asked. I looked up at the building. Brick face, big industrial windows, good bones. "I am going to keep it," I said. "Production incubator, free studio access and mentorship for young women trying to break into audio, people who have the ear for it but not the money or the connections." Marcus nodded and handed me the keys. Months later, I was sitting in my own studio on a quiet January morning. I did not know where Gerald and Donna were staying. I did not know if Brianna had found another space. I had blocked every number. I reached up and touched the cracked photograph in my sun visor, 9 years old, squinting into the sun. She had been told her whole life that she was not enough. She built something anyway. Here is what I want you to carry out of this story. The people who needed you to be small were not strong. They were afraid, and fear makes people do things they cannot take back. You were never the problem. You were just the proof they could not face. Tell me something. If this had been you, would you have done the same thing? Or would you have given them one more chance? Drop it in the comments. And if you know someone who needs to hear this story right now, send it to them. They will know why. If this story gave you that feeling, that specific satisfaction of watching the truth finally land, subscribe, because I have more. Stories about people who were written off and counted out, who then made sure that was the last mistake anyone made. See you in the next one.